Welcome back to the CIO Lifeline. I'm your host, Tony Darden. With me, as always, Craig Sroda. Today, we're going to talk about application consultants, its role within organizations, the talent they bring, how that role is critical to projects you're taking on, frustrations of the role, joys of the role, how they play a key part in change management. Very important when it comes to projects of complexity, especially if you're going through an ERP upgrade, a CRM implementation. Pick your project. Okay, let's get smarter. Hang in there for 12 more seconds. Don't go anywhere. We have Mary Gordon from Stoneridge Software. Mary, how are you doing?
Morning. I'm great. Good to see you.
You as well. So, Mary, quick intro for you. If you could give us a background, I know we have a history together. We've worked together for almost 4 years. What got you into, I'll call it, the role of application consulting? And then ultimately, how did you land at Stoneridge?
To be honest, I fell into it. I worked in retail as a kid, did inventory like every year on New Year's Eve for like 6 years. That was my life. And then ended up working for an electrical distributor after that for another 6 years, doing accounts payable, doing purchasing, inventory management. While I was at the distributor, they wanted to do a software upgrade, and this is before email. This is before smartphones. We had a mainframe system, and we were going to this high tech ERP, which was still a dumb terminal kind of system, but they wanted me to be a key part of that. It was a lot of work, I remember. And when all was said and done, I was bored, and ultimately that led me to go into that type of career path where I just started doing it for a living.
I mean, we coin it as an application consultant. Was that type of role formalized back then, or was this something new?
I think there were elements of it out there. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it really had a title. I mean, obviously, when we did our internal upgrade, the company we worked with had people come out and do that. We had a developer, and we had a technical engineer, and we had an accountant come out and work with us. So it was a project team, way smaller scale than what you see now.
And you're with Stoneridge Software. So for our viewers, what does Stoneridge Software do?
Well, basically, we're a value added reseller. You know, there's a lot of different resellers out there, but the Microsoft platform. You have your CE, you have your BC, everything that's now two letters.
F&O.
F&O, well, sorry, I guess that's technically two letters and a ampersand. So we have different groups of people who implement the different, who specialize, I should say, in the different, disciplines.
But you think back to all the different systems you have exposure to, there is some commonality across them all. And that is having someone like yourself be entrenched in the business, understand the system. So you're constantly learning something new. I love the comment you said that you were bored. Having to learn all these new systems, and you're dealing with folks that are various skill sets, right? You have your older entrenched employees, then you have new green employees. So and change is hard. Yes, you have the technical chops and you have to learn the system and process, but you have to be a people person. I think the soft side of this, and we talk about it a lot in this channel, is so important for your role.
You can teach the technical skills, you can teach the mechanics, but the soft skills are they have to be inherent to who you are, because a big part of this is relationship building. Some may get on here and say I don't agree, and that's fair, but
They're allowed to be wrong
they're
because
allowed to be wrong.
yeah,
Yeah. I just think you have to have a relationship. You have to build because there's trust involved too. You know, if somebody doesn't like you and they don't trust you, they're going to second guess.
The people side of it, we talked about it last episode, was reading the room and knowing the personality types, the accountants, distribution people. You have to understand the personality type to build that relationship.
You have to adapt how you approach different people. You have to be adaptable. How I talk to Tony, for example, I can be really direct with him because I know him. I've seen him yell at his keyboard about 1,000 times. And then there's people where, you got to approach it a little differently. And that's part of I think, the soft skill piece of this.
So true. Because just like general user navigation, pick a very simple concept, and you're going to meet with the CEO, you're going to meet with myself, or you're going to meet with operations. Three very distinct personalities, three distinct approaches, same goal, right?
How you talk to them, how you communicate with them, it's different.
I always talk about the happy hour test in interviewing. Craig mentions, and I love it. Like the spousal test, just taking the significant other to dinner, just understanding how they are in their social environment, because anybody can come to an interview locked and loaded and rehearsed. But when you start to break down the barriers and get to know the person, and you said it earlier too, Mary, it's the technical. You can teach the technical. I mean, they got to have competency. They have to be quick learners. I mean, there's basics there, but the stuff that you can't train is how they're going to interact with people. That's something that's inside, and
Mhm.
again, that's
Temperament. I mean,
Yeah.
temperament. Yeah.
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 Yeah. After doing ERP systems for 25 years, the accountants usually strive trained. They love change, right? No, they don't.
No.
Accountants hate change. Yeah, holding their hands through that is super, super important.
For those thinking about getting into the AC space, what do you feel over the course of your career are the top three skills that have made you successful?
You have to really forge a relationship and that trust. I think that you have to get to know the business and the players. The software's the software, but everybody's different. Everybody uses different pieces. Everybody uses different pieces differently. Fundamentally, you have to understand that and you have to know how these people work together, how they interact. The application side of it, I kind of divide things into two groups. There's NAV and there's BC. So in the NAV world, I think it's a little different because it's a little more static. What you have is what you have. With BC, it's just changing. It changes constantly.
Well, another way to say it would be you have your on-prem environments and you have your cloud environments, right? Because the cloud environments, whether it's BC or Oracle or SAP, they're always twice a year minimum. You're getting what they're putting into the product. You have no choice.
We've had mods zapped that were working yesterday because overnight Microsoft put something in. Nobody knew it was coming. Sorry, I didn't mean to derail here. I learn from clients too. You can't be this person that goes in and says, my way, this is the way. You have to listen. You have
Never
to
works.
understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have
So
to,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I tell them all the time, I learned from you. I didn't know this. They find something. And so there's a humble aspect of it. You can't believe you know everything. You don't.
Craig, I think we got our script from her. I mean,
Yep.
it's
No,
so yeah.
yeah, that's a perfect response. And I used to have our team say, "I don't know," and I'm like, "It's okay not to know," but then follow that up with, "I'm going to figure it out and let you know."
Well, and I think if they find out you're BSing, which it just doesn't end well.
Sometimes they know you're BSing
Yeah,
in the moment,
right.
right? Of the three, and there's a gazillion talents you bring, right? But of the three that you focused on, I think the two, like the change management, getting to know the folks, the bit first, right? Then understanding their process before and we're not even talking about how the upgrade's going to go and what the change. It's understanding, building that trust, and understanding their business. Because it's not just we're going to upgrade you. That may sound simple to say, but people have different processes. You have to understand the needs versus the wants. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it.
We go through that, what's nice to have and what is a must have. And the must haves come first. The nice to haves can always come later. But the nice part about the nice to haves is sometimes 6 months later, I don't really need that anymore.
But if it's safe on a list too, it builds a lot of relationship too, right? Instead of saying no, say we're going to put that on a list and we'll prioritize it later on. It's safe. They know it's safe, and then they're focusing on the important.
That's a good point. You're not being dismissive. Hey, great idea. Not sure where this fits yet if it does, but we want to make sure we don't forget about it. And we're going to come back to this. The smaller houses, development shops, or value added resellers, when they come in proclaiming to have multiple hats, I'm your PM, I'm your application consultant, I'm your developer. So you're just getting one hourly rate. You're not going to get nickel and dime. That's a dangerous path to go down. I think that's more costly. So you don't have someone's dedicated attention in a specific area of the project, and you're going to spend it later, and you're going to end up redoing things later. Or am I being unfair to the smaller teams?
Checks and balances.
You can't be a generalist.
Yeah. I mean, to have a developer implement, it's always good to have that, the checks and balances. Here you focus on the code and I'll focus on this.
And I like having a dedicated project manager too. And there's different philosophies. I've worked for companies where they look at project management as a dedicated role. I've worked for leaders who want internal staff to take on a PM hat, if you will, kind of their way of internalizing it, but not adding headcount. And then you have a PM, but someone from the outside. Where I land is a dedicated project manager inside. I think wearing different hats or asking someone else, especially in today's lean thinking with businesses, I think you're doing a disservice to it. It won't be focused. People end up getting frustrated. I definitely feel it has to be a dedicated role. Independent roles create a more effective project and ultimately saves you cost and time in the long run.
When you have a project manager or an AC on from a consulting firm and having a project management person or some that's the internal person, do you see that working a lot out there, or is that kind of either outside or inside?
Ah,
So two wait, so you two PMs, you have an inside PM
Yeah.
and outside. Yeah.
it depends on the personalities, but sometimes you have outside people who are, they got to do this. The inside person knows, okay, you just got to take it down a notch because I know these people. Okay. I know why this isn't getting done, or I know they'll get it done.
Sometimes there's needs to be a referee. If you have tough personalities on both sides, who's helping to
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense, number 98. Penalties half the distance to the goal line.
Do you think a role like yours, Mary, should be internal to an organization? Like companies should have a dedicated AC.
I do.
If I'm a 10-man shop, probably don't need something like that. I don't know if there's a size equation here.
That's a good question. I mean, I've never really thought of it that way, but you can facilitate so much more. I got pulled into everything. Everything. It's like, hey, we're having a meeting. Can you join? Sure. You're a facilitator. And so having somebody on the inside who can sit in on the meeting, kind of, you are in some ways a referee in that regard too. It was never the same day twice.
Couple comments on that. The fact that you're getting pulled in speaks back to that trust. And it turned into a tremendous cost save for us because we're not having to rely on our outside partner all the time. So, Craig, in your role at VCIO Global, when does it make sense for a company to take on a role like this?
Yeah, size comes into play, but I think AI is coming into play big time now to bring that inside, because you're going to have to vet out a lot of solutions and potential different partners also because of dev and their skill sets. So I think we're going to see that getting pulled in more and more and building out AI and application consultants.
So, Mary, any exposure to AI technologies and how that will play a part in roles like yourself?
I wouldn't say directly at this point, but I think I can speak for a lot of people and say, when you you call an 800 number or whatever, and you have a grievance. Most of us want a human. We don't want a chat bot or a press one for this, press. So I see the benefit to some degree for certain types of questions in certain types of situations. But I think, especially with ERP systems, they're personal. There's custom processes. It's very unique, it's very specific. And time is money. So if it takes 5 minutes for somebody to go, oh, here it is, versus going through a whole automated process.
And maybe I'm still old school, but like I have many frustrations, but one of them is when I have a question to any partner of our, and they send me a link, an online. Well, you can go to this link, and there's some videos,
Right.
and I don't want to go to a link. I
Right.
want to have a conversation with you.
Exactly.
So,
I feel the same way. I feel the same.
And,
Yes.
and another trigger I have, because you brought it up, so I'm going to go with it, is voice activated prompts.
Yes.
Like, I'll press 2. I'm not going to say 2. If you're telling me to say 2, I'm hanging up, or I'm going to spam the 0 until I get a
Right.
human being.
Right. I'm the same way. I'm old school. And I think that, there's a certain level of expectation. Like, if I wanted to just Google this, I wouldn't be calling you. I would just Google this. I'm calling, pick up the phone.
Or you're talking to someone that's disconnected to how I'm trying to be politically correct here. I'll just say this, like Amazon, you try to contact customer service.
Good luck.
Good luck. Good luck finding a number. They're out there, but it's not, hey, for customer service, call this. You're not, no.
I do think AI is going to have some play with us, though, because the new generation, I'm with you guys on everything you're saying, but there's this new generation that would rather bot real quick and then get escalated also. So something to think about. I think it's coming.
Looking back over your career up to now, what frustrates you the most? I mean, you clearly are passionate. You love what you do, but there's frustrations there, right?
Have
So
you ever seen me frustrated, though?
What's that?
You ever see me frustrated?
Every day. No, just kidding.
No, I know.
No, you've always had a great, yeah. But do you go home and kick the dog? I don't know. Maybe.
Happening. Excuse me. Excuse me. What are you doing?
That's how I roll.
I don't have a dog.
That's why.
The things that I realize frustrate me the most are things out of my control, things that sit with either Microsoft or there's certain third-party add-ons. This one's code blows up. They blame this one. It turns into this. You're, again, caught in the middle.
I tell you, that frustration, though, is such a strong reason why your role is so important.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Because in this world of cloud, and there's no stopping it,
it's
every vendor is going to be cloud. Now you have these interdependencies with different.
And everybody's racing to get version 23 ready. And inevitably, something doesn't work. And then you got to wait.
Calculating sales tax, processing a credit card.
Yeah. Still happening.
Yes, still happening. Yeah. Well, that's a hardware vendor, Well, no, that's the software. Now it's pointing, two clouds pointing to one another. Yeah. What about working with different user types? Do you reach breaking points with employees?
I'd be lying if I said, "Oh no," you get all types. There's people like you who embrace technology,
which are angelic.
That wasn't the word I was going to use. Just saying. But no, you are always looking ahead. Like, oh, this is cool. Oh, we could do this. Very visionary, if you will, avant-garde. See, now his head's getting bigger. I can tell.
You had me at hello.
But then...
Please, Mary, finish your thought, please. I don't want to interrupt.
Nice,
So
Tony.
it's fun because there's always this element of that's cool and I know stuff's going to break and that's okay. That's just part of the process and we'll deal with it. And then obviously there's going to be the more set in our ways. Why do we have to change? Or, okay, I'm okay with upgrading, but I got to keep this. It's like holding on to that blanket. And you really struggle sometimes trying to convince people it's okay to let go.
This is where you were gold.
Oh, thank you.
Because of that relationship. Let's try it together, and if it really doesn't work, hey, then we'll pivot. We can pivot, but you had that trust. You
Yeah,
had that relationship. They
right.
liked you. So some of that's the frustrations of the role, the joys of the role. I'm hearing some of it, right? You that relationship building, kind of the breakthrough. I think what I heard you saying too was when something becomes realized, and you see that user adoption take hold. I mean that's rewarding, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I like I'm not the type of person that wants to get up every day and do the same thing. You're always challenged. You're always learning. The opportunities to learn are never ending. That can be a frustration as well because sometimes you have a time crunch. You got to figure something out, and you don't. It's month end. Like I don't have the luxury of spending hours on this. I've got to get this figured out. So things that can be a joy can also be a frustration.
Mary, I don't know about you, but people used to hate me for the last 90 days of a project, but then 90 days after the project, they're like, gosh, how did we ever live without this? So that joy, that satisfaction of coming back and saying thank you, your life will get better. I promise. I'll hold your hand through it. It'll get better. And then, that thank you is really a big fulfilling factor. There is always that tension at the end, and then they're like, oh, we could be friends again, but it's in the form of a question,
Yeah.
it's not telling them to do this. It's let's just try it, and coax them along. Every one of them were like, oh, tension, tension. Oh, thank you. Tension, tension. Thank you.
But it comes back to the trust, right? Because it's okay if they can't see it, but if they trust you, they tend to come along.
The cultural shifts too that you have to overcome because people, they want to make the new system like the old system. So you got to help them
Yeah.
not do that.
You
Yeah.
nailed it. We want
He did
change.
nail it.
We
Yeah.
want change,
He does that, Mary. He
but we
does that.
want everything like it was. And oh my
Yes.
God, if I had a nickel for every
Back to the
penny.
change management. It's like,
Yeah.
look, even if the finished product was as planned, which again, I think that's unicorn land, but let's just say it is, getting people on board, feeling it, actually doing it, you can't budget for that. For those aspiring to be you, Mary, what kind of schooling, certifications, et cetera, to prepare? Because I know the soft side of it,
Mhm.
it's hard to, I don't think you necessarily can train that.
There's nobody softer than me.
Yeah.
Oh, bullshit.
But here, so I'll seed it a little bit here because I remember you having very strong on like the financial side because I feel like that's commonality across all ERP systems, having that very core. So is that something?
I have if you would have asked my 20 something year old self this question versus my 30-year-old self this question.
That's still a ways back.
Right. Well, yeah. Let's not go there. But no, I mean, the answer is definitely different today than it would have been. So I obviously went to school, I went to college, and I got a master's in business. I don't think you would need that. 25 years ago, I would say do it. I'm still encouraging, go to college, get a master's, do it. But do I think it's a prerequisite to make you a good application consultant? The answer is no. My belief is if you want to be really good at implementing an ERP system, you have to work in a business and you have to work in different aspects of a business. You have to learn a business. And it doesn't mean you have to work in 10 different types of businesses, but you should have a base understanding of accounting functions, purchasing, distribution. If you're lucky enough to be in a manufacturing facility, to understand how all that comes together, because that's a whole other element. A big part of consulting, you have to know what questions to ask, right? It's all about asking the right questions. So, in a way, you're like an investigative journalist. The way to know that is to know, all right, I've been in this role. I worked in purchasing. So how do you handle special orders? How often do you do inventory? Do you cycle count? Do you just do an annual? These are the questions you know to ask because you walked the walk. I think psychology is a big one too. And that's any line of work you go into, not just consult, but it's especially important when you're dealing with lots of people in different, businesses, walks of life. We used to do Myers-Briggs. Remember, have you guys done that?
You know what's cool about that, Mary? You checked all my boxes. Accounting basics, fundamentals, business basics, psychology. Myers-Briggs, it was funny when you said that because I was going to bring up 16 personalities. Tony, we talked about that.
Yep.
Everybody I work with, we have them do 16personalities.com, which is Myers-Briggs. It's a free online. Knowing yourself so you know how you're going to respond, but then being aware of all those personalities because how you ask those questions are going to be way different to the different personalities. It's almost like business should always have a psychology track now because it's about people business, right?
If there was one more thing I would add is find good mentors, not just a mentor, but good mentors. You need people who can not only teach you, but they can put you in your place. They can humble you, they're not afraid to tell you, you're an idiot or don't do that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Love it.
And how about the average? You're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. So make sure you're always taking inventory of that. Did you guys
Yeah.
ever hear that?
I sort of,
I
but
haven't, but man, does that resonate. I
yeah.
love that.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah. I just think that, it all
I'm
comes down to
smarter
good
every
philosophy.
time we have an episode. I got to say
I look up to you because you're older and wiser than I am.
that.
I always told him that, even though
Yeah. Yes.
he's not really wiser. No. I'm older, but
That's
I've been beaten down during the
right.
4 years with Mary Craig. Just FYI. Yeah. Okay, great conversation, Mary. Thanks for joining us today, Craig. Great insight as always. Learned a lot about application consulting, how to prepare for it, the importance of this role within an organization, especially when it comes to the success of your projects. Until next time, thanks again.
thanks. Go blue.
And so it's just now, and I'm being very complimentary. Are we on record here? Because for those aspiring to be you, Mary, and I don't know who the would ever want to be you.
There's going to be a bleep there.
Yes, there is.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm at a loss for words.
No way.